Hello, America. Welcome to the Beck program. Tonight, we have a very special for you. It's a very special Beck program. The next chapter in our Time to Be Heard series. It is time for legal immigrants to be heard. And we have an audience full of legal immigrants. You all came from someplace else?
Yes.
It's a trick. INS is on the code. They're all here legally. They don't have to worry about anything. And they have a lot to say on this issue. There are also people here who have been waiting patiently to become citizens of this country. And going through the process to become a citizen is a nightmare. First, I want to tell you about a headline that I saw just the other day on another news network, luckily that nobody watches. Here's what it said. The banner at the bottom of the screen said, quote, "Papers, please. Law makes it a crime to be an illegal immigrant." I mean, it's just like, you know, illegal murder is now illegal. I mean, it's illegal. We have to make something illegal that's already illegal? This is how they summarize the new law in Arizona, designed to do something that our federal government will not, and that's take illegal immigration seriously. Statue of Liberty, you know, on the palm, I hold my lamp beside her golden door. It's a golden door. This is a special place, and we haven't been treating it like a special place on any front for a very long time. The idiocy of the not-so-subtle Nazi reference that you see here all over, "Papers, please," is exceeded only by the idea of doing something illegal should be anything other than a crime. But common sense didn't stop many from reacting as Arizona's attempt to ask for identification would turn the Southwest United States into somehow or another the Fourth Reich. Mexico even issued a warning to anyone daring to travel to Arizona, which would have been a little more intimidating if it didn't sound so much like my mom's advice. You know, if I would go someplace, if I would have gone to any other country, my mother would have said this, and I now say this to my children, and this was a stern warning to the Mexican citizens. It's important to act carefully and respect the local laws. Look out. It's a Nazi concentration camp here. That's pretty good advice. Isn't that good advice to tell your children? Mexico's outrage rings particularly hollow considering Article 67 of their population law. Quote, "Authorities, whether federal, state, or municipal, are required to demand that foreigners prove their legal presence in the country before attending to any issues." In addition, Amnesty International called the abuse of migrants in Mexico a major human rights crisis. Look, Mexico is on fire. And if I had my family, I was a Mexican citizen, and I had my family there, with everything that's going on with their corrupt government and the drug lords and everything else, and I knew that the United States offered me opportunity, and they didn't enforce their own laws, I'd probably be here myself. But things have to change. If we have to occasionally ask for identification, yeah, that's what we have to do. In Mexico, an estimated 6 out of 10 migrant women and girls are victims of sexual violence, a crime often participated in by authorities in Mexico themselves. That is a human rights crisis, not us asking people for identification if you're stopped for something else. If the Arizona law is so controversial, the residents of Arizona don't seem to understand why. A new Rasmussen poll found that 70% supported the basic concept of the law. Now, how did this happen? It's got to be all those rich people, right? All the rich people. No, not really. Those earning less than $20,000 per year supported this, 60 to 34%. So I know it's all the old people there. No, according to the same poll, those between the ages of 18 and 29 years old support it between 72 to 28%. How about all the Republicans in Arizona? No, Democrats supported this bill 51 to 43%. How about the conservatives? Nope, liberals support the bill 44 to 39%. How about all just the white people? No, even the other race category, which mostly included Hispanics, supported 63 to 36%. Either Arizona is filled with racists. I mean, in every category they're racist. Or they just know that this is collapsing their state and they know more about the law and the people that are enforcing it than those who are criticizing it from outside. President Obama said this about this legislation just the other day.
This law that just passed in Arizona, which I think is a poorly conceived law.
Poorly conceived law. He would have been right if anything like the law he described actually existed. This is how he summarized his worry for Hispanic Americans.
Now suddenly, if you don't have your papers and you took your kid out to get ice cream, you're going to be harassed.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's going to be a doctor who's going to remove your feet and take your kid's tonsils out. I mean, if you're here, you know, legally, illegally, you're sitting in an ice cream parlor, they cannot ask you any questions by law. The law specifically prohibits such behavior. Enforce that law. It applies to so many circumstantial limitations that it's hard to imagine how systematic abuse is even possible. Law enforcement will make a reasonable attempt to determine the immigration status of a person when practicable, if there is a reasonable suspicion, if it doesn't hinder or obstruct an investigation, or if they already have been arrested. However, the law states, race, color, or national origin cannot be the only reason they were asked. Furthermore, any such interactions must be permitted by the United States or the Arizona Constitution. It must be implemented in a manner consistent with federal laws regulating immigration. It must provide the civil rights of all persons. And the questioning must occur during a lawful contact. That doesn't sound like the ice cream parlor. What does lawful contact even mean? According to the University of Missouri, Kansas City law school professor who helped draft the law, it means, quote, the officer is already engaged in some sort of detention of an individual because he has violated some other law. The most likely context would be that this law would come into play at a traffic stop. Arizona is currently in the midst of clarifying this even further, just to announce that their cops are not racist. So unless your mythical trip to the ice cream stand includes reckless driving or armed robbery, you're probably going to be okay with your mint chocolate chip waffle cone there with your grandkids. The larger point, however, is that those who attack this law are making very specific complaints about very specific groups of people. It's not about these people. It's not about the Tea Parties or anybody. It's not. Whom would be perpetrating this abuse? No critic is claiming that the Republican politicians are going to start making citizen arrests or Tea Party members. Oh, you're Hispanic, let me arrest you. That's not happening. What they're saying is that police officers will abuse their powers to recklessly harass and detain Hispanic citizens for no reason other than living while Hispanic. Why can we trust the police officers to make judgments on the use of lethal force but not ask for identification when appropriate? They're carrying guns. It's been my experience that police officers, and I think most people in America, along with members of the military, police and members of the military represent the finest among us. Not in every case. There are bad cops. There are bad everything. But the vast majority are just Americans. They're good. They're people that risk their life every day to protect us. Do you wear a vest under your clothes to go to work? They do. Why are we repaying them with accusations of widespread bigotry without any evidence? Do we really believe the everyday cop will be so tempted they just can't stand it? They're just going to have to detain Hispanics unfairly, even when they will have to clearly break the law to do so. If you really believe that about our men and women in uniform at the local precinct, that they are the equivalent of a stormtrooper of Nazi Germany asking for papers, then let's be honest about that. Let's make that case. And you know what? I'll help bust those bad cops. You can't make that case. I dare you to make that case.